episode 60 of the Unscripted Company podcast. The podcast where there are no rules, there are no scripts. Who knows what we're even going to talk about? You probably clicked on this because you saw a thumbnail, had some topics listed. Maybe it tickled your fancy, but I can't guarantee we're even going to talk about everything that was on there because if you've joined us before, you know that we could start off with one topic and end up somewhere completely off topic, but we keep it unscripted. Got my co-host here with me this evening, Riley. Riley, how's your week going?
It's been a week, that is for sure.
Yeah, it's been 7 days.
It has been 7 days. Haven't really had a whole lot new in my world. I mean, just another day or another week, I should say. Yeah, it's just been a pretty, I don't know. It's been a week. I don't really know how to describe it. It's just been another week. Another week closer to 30. Doesn't really feel any different. I'm kind of just here for it. So
yeah, cool. Remind me, when's your birthday again?
Saturday.
This upcoming Saturday. Hype. All right. So that means for those of you out there listening, watching, got to throw a happy birthday in the chat because we're not going to have another episode come out until after the birthday. So now's the time. Now's the time.
We'll hold it against y'all if y'all don't do it. It's fine. Not big on celebrations.
So anything on the docket for you in terms of what you want to talk about this evening? Any hard-hitting headlines catch your eye this week?
Not necessarily. I mean, dude, I feel like so much stuff just honestly just blurs together. Like nothing really sticks out anymore because it's just like every day you're just like, what's going to happen today? And it doesn't seem like anything really just catches my eye anymore per se. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the stock stuff is still, but that's mostly just for work purposes. I mean, like, because if the stocks go down, I mean, that affects a lot of things. So it's kind of really like, when it comes to economical aspects, like those are the main things that I can like concern myself with now. But other than that, no, I mean, not really. I mean, I've had some things on here from the past couple of weeks that I've been, at least one thing that I've been wanting to talk about for the past couple of weeks. We just never really got around to it. But other than that, I mean, just our typical go with the flow. It's not gonna be like a traditional live stream like a lot of people know us for, where we just talk about one topic for 2 hours or an hour and a half or whatever. But we're gonna kind of keep the same flow this week, mix in a little bit of conspiracy with a little bit of current news. So that's kind of what I feel like we're gonna be doing tonight. So,
well, here's what's wild. So this past week, I think there's a lot of news that happened this past week, but two bombshells in particular. First one, which we talked about, I don't know, a couple weeks back, whenever we knew Trump was going to become the president. He was talking about one of his executive orders was to disclose the JFK files. Mm-hmm. Well, those JFK files did drop. I see Dana in the chat saying happy early birthday. Awesome. If you're listening in the future, don't forget, drop a happy birthday in the chat. But the JFK files came out this past week. That's a big deal. I was trying to read through some of the more prominent documents that started to come to light, because it was tens of thousands of documents that basically got disclosed, uploaded onto a government website for the world to read through, basically. So kind of relying on other people to do the due diligence of reading through all of those documents and then surfacing those that have some meaning to it. So that happened this week. But what also happened this week, I don't know if you saw this at all, happy to bring everyone up to speed, but they may have found some structures underneath the Giza Plateau, underneath the pyramids in Egypt, basically.
I saw that too.
That go hundreds of meters deep into the ground. We haven't actually been down there. It was, they use radar to detect this. And we have some renderings of what they believe these to look like. They look like some cylindrical structures that go hundreds of meters deep below the pyramids in the Giza Plateau. And it almost has like a spiral staircase look to it. So I know that's one of the things I'll kind of bring up. And I know there's been so many other things, like quick thing to get it started off with. Did you see the news from DoorDash? Maybe the notes that I put gave it away, but did you see this news?
I thought I vaguely remember seeing something about DoorDash.
Okay, I want to get your authentic reaction to this. So let me do this real quick because this will be a quick, fun topic
Well,
to warm up the brain juices. But were you going to say
before
something?
before we go into that,
Yeah,
because even though it's a live stream, we can't forget the question of the week.
valid.
So let's see here. I have a list. Okay, I didn't really have one set up because I just kind of wasn't thinking about it at first. But I was like, oh crap, I got to pull this up. Um, so I have like a plethora of questions and different categories of questions. Let's see here. If aliens landed tomorrow and said Earth was just a failed experiment, what would be your first question to them?
Ooh, if I get to ask them a question.
Now take away like your like faith and religion for just a second.
No, I think that's a valid aspect, though. You want to, I mean, if aliens were to land or make themselves known or present and say, "Hey, this has been a fun experiment, but it failed," and if I get to ask one question in return of hearing that, oh, I don't know. That's a good. I think I would be intrigued to want to know what was the experiment. Because if the aliens are telling me, "Yo, this was a failed experiment," that means, okay, first of all, like, what was the experiment? My assumption, just trying to piece things together, is, I mean, there's always the fun narrative that we as humans were a genetic splicing of basically what we think of as an ape with whatever else is floating out there in the universe, in that we were created to basically be worker bees to do the bidding of a higher entity, in this case, aliens, I guess, since that's the question. So I'd want to know what was the experiment. I know it doesn't sound that exciting, but that would answer a lot of questions also, because just by them saying the experiment failed, that means I would assume we were put here to do a task. And so I'm like, okay, what was the experiment, i.e. the task?
That's a good question.
Or, okay, before I get your answer, potentially, my question, if I was maybe allowed a follow-up question, or if I had to replace it, it would be, what's next?
That was not to be my question. It's like, what happens next? If we were a failed experiment, what happens now?
Are they going to like Control Alt Delete this thing, or like?
That's what I'm saying. Like, like they've got like a, bomb, set next to like the molten core of our planet, and they're just like, you know what? We're hitting the Control Alt Delete.
So Daddy streaming in the chat says, if aliens landed tomorrow, I wouldn't have any questions other than they can take Elon and drop him off on Mars. He can be the first settler. Now, Daddy streaming, let me throw this question at you, or scenario. What if he was the leader of the pack? What if he was head honcho numero uno of these alien beings? Like, what if, it's kind of hard because we have the internet now, but what if all the TVs and radios all of a sudden turned on and it was like an emergency broadcast, and then you see Elon's head pop up and he's like, "Attention, Earth. This has been a failed experiment. Goodbye." And it just goes off and you're like, hold on a second. What happened?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an interesting question. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't want to say we're an experiment. Like when you go back into like faith, I don't want to say we're an experiment to God, because we're not.
Are we?
Not with the intention that he in Scripture, based on what his intentionality was. Like, he created us to have a relationship with him. So I don't know. That is definitely a good question.
An experimental relationship. Never been done before. Hopefully.
All right. So let's dig into this DoorDash then.
Yeah. So before we dive into all this fun stuff with the pyramids and the JFK files and who knows what else we get into, just something to warm up the brain juices. For those of you who didn't catch the news this week, I want to get Riley's authentic reaction to this. I think this is hilarious news that dropped. So straight from the source.
I do enjoy my authentic reactions.
DoorDash's official press release headline says, DoorDash partners with Klarna. And for those of you who don't know who or what Klarna is a buy now, pay later service where It's similar to, I think it's Affirm, where you can buy something and then pay interest-free payments over, 4 to 6 different payments across months. Now, of course, there's interest if you fail to meet the obligations of those payments. But DoorDash partners with Klarna to offer U.S. customers even more convenience with flexible payments. New partnership gives customers more ways to pay for groceries, retail, meals, and more. Klarna, the AI-powered payments and commerce network, and DoorDash, the premier commerce platform, local commerce platform, have partnered to offer Klarna's flexible range of payment options to DoorDash customers. In the coming months, DoorDash customers will be able to enjoy Klarna's seamless range of payment options when purchasing groceries, retail, and even Dash Pass annual plan on DoorDash.com or through the DoorDash app. So basically, whenever you want to go to Whataburger, or if you want to get your McDonald's delivered to your front door, you now have the option to finance that purchase in as far out as like 4 months, basically.
My whole thing is like, first of all, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like fast food's already fast enough without having to get it delivered to my place. Like, I don't need to go. Or, man, it just really shows how lazy people actually are. And not only that, but Daddy Streaming, he's like said the fact that groceries and food are that expensive that people would even think about financing their purchase is wild.
So I made my own little meme this week. Definitely not original. I might have stole this concept from many other people on X. So this is like Dave Ramsey. Imagine when Dave Ramsey hears about this. He already has, first of all. He like had an official tweet. I'm sure he's talked about in his radio program. But so it's like Dave Ramsey basically saying, now hold on a second. You're telling me you've got $13,000 in DoorDash orders financed on Klarna? Because this is going to happen. You're going to have people that, mindlessly just keep going and racking up that credit line. And, it's going to hurt. But the memes this week that came out of this are absolutely hilarious. I should have had some lined up real quick. Let me get a few because a lot of people have been referencing. Here we go. Here's a fun one. So it says, when you realize that the second installment payment on a Chipotle burrito bowl from last week is coming up on the same day as the 10th installment payment for a Starbucks cold brew and the 12th installment payment for a sweet greens kale Caesar you had a year ago. And it's Tiger King basically saying, I'm never going to financially recover from this.
That's crazy.
There were a few others too where it's like, you have from the Wolf of Wall Street, and he goes, so you financed a $5.29 McChicken on DoorDash, but still remain bullish on the economy? So there's been a lot of memes also being made from, if you've ever seen the movie The Big Short, and what's the other movie called? Margin Call. So for those of you who have seen the movie The Big Short, this is what we call collateralized burrito obligations. It's just a Jenga tower getting ready to fall over. So this is the world we live in now. You can now finance your DoorDash orders.
This is ridiculous though, because it's like there are people that are actually going to do this.
And I see Daddy Streaming in the comments asking, do they say the minimum amount required? There is no minimum. You can finance the dollar menu, good sir. You want to get that?
The fact there's going to be people out there that are actually going to do that too. Like, yeah. I want to go finance my $7, which, let's be honest, McDonald's doesn't cost $7 anymore for a meal. Like, you're going to pay like $10 at least. Like, yeah. But the fact that people are actually going to do that now, I'm just sickened at the fact that this is what our society has come to. Like, I can understand maybe financing, like, I wouldn't even understand financing groceries, but groceries are way more expensive now. So it's like, I don't know.
And I'm starting to see this more too with like certain credit card companies. They'll have it too. Like when you make a big purchase, they'll let you split out that purchase over coming months. Like that's like a built-in feature too. And so I'm sure like people are doing with groceries already because, you just put groceries on a credit card. That's one of the purchases that's like, qualifies for spreading out the payment. It's we live in extraordinary times.
Like that's the thing though. It's like, dude, like credit cards, I feel like should only be like utilized for purchases that are $1,000 or over. Like, You should not. I'm speechless on this, honestly. Like, I didn't expect. Like, first of all, if you have to finance your DoorDash order, you probably shouldn't be ordering DoorDash in the first place. Like,
That's so bigoted of you to say that, sir. Are you going to deny a tax-paying American their McDonald's where they can finance that thing out 4 months?
Go to the gym. Quit eating fast food at McDonald's. Go to the gym.
Well, hey,
work at it.
Also get your gym membership financed. That way you don't have to pay.
It already is financed because you already pay a monthly payment. So you're going to finance a monthly payment.
Yeah. This is what they did with the housing market leading up to 2008. They basically took a bunch of mortgage securities that were really terrible, and they're like, well, okay, so what if we just package these together, and then we sell the package to someone else as new debt, and then we repackage those again, and then we have a new version of debt, and we sell that to somebody else. You just play hot potato with that. So there's a serious discussion to be had with. Right now, it's a laughable thing, right? But we could have a scenario 3 to 5 years out where there's a huge debt bubble of financed fast food orders and also other things. I know people use DoorDash technically to get other stuff purchased and delivered to their house, but there could be a scenario where there's like a debt bubble that is created from this 3 to 5 years from now.
The thing is we're already going to have a bubble that's about to pop. So it's like, this is the sad part though, is people think like, oh my God, I could just finance this and just pay it off. You can't. We're going to get into it definitely with at least. So actually, this actually kind of leads into my. This actually could lead into my next topic because we've talked about this before, and I hate bringing this up every single. Like I say, like a lot of the time, but this is actually
real quick. Definitely continue here in a second, but I see Daddy streaming in the chat. I want to make sure this gets answered. He goes, "Can I Klarna my closing costs?" So here's the funny thing. So actually, this weekend, been painting new house, man. So I just went through this process of actually closing on a house. Closed last Friday. They do let you finance closing costs, which is kind of crazy. You can technically, we didn't do this, but you can technically finance the down payment. This is not like a USDA 0% down loan.
No, it's like a down payment assistance kind of thing.
But it's not even that. You can just like go to Wells Fargo, you can go to Chase and straight up just take out a loan and use that for your down payment.
Yeah. But okay, well, it's not really down, but yeah, you can do that though. Why would you do that? I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is like separate from the actual mortgage loan itself. Is like you can just go take out a personal loan, take that cash, use that as the down payment. So in a sense, yeah, you could, maybe not Klarna in particular. I'm not saying I agree with this method, but it is a method that I did not realize existed, and I don't advise it. But money's not real, so do with it what you want.
Dude, if money's not real, man, like every time whenever I think about like the money that the government just keeps printing off, but yet somehow nobody ever has enough money to afford anything. And like I said, I'm going to get into this here in just a second. I always think of like, you remember that the Amanda show way back in the day?
Bring up the dancing lobsters, everybody.
And there was that one particular one where she had like this box and you just push a button and it just prints out.
Yes, that's what the Federal Reserve literally does.
And yet they're like, oh no, we don't have enough money. I'm like, well, I can see why you don't want to print more off, because then it just devalues what's already there. So I get that aspect of it because you don't want to devalue it. But who exactly put that value on in the first place?
The Federal Reserve.
Exactly. So it's like you could just print bigger bills.
For those of you at home, and Riley, I don't know if I've ever told you this or if you've known this as well. If anyone listening has a paper dollar bill, doesn't matter what amount, pull that out of your wallet, pull that out of your purse, look at the back of it, and look at the top, how it says Federal Reserve Note. It specifically uses the word note because it's an IOU. That paper itself is worth nothing, but it's a note from the Federal Reserve that says it's worth something. But of course, we all know there's no like gold or silver standard. So it's just literally a piece of paper that we've all agreed upon that is worth something.
Right. Well, like I just think like when it comes to just value for anything, like I said, dude, it really just irks my nerves in that sense. And like I said, I'm about to get into it here. I'm going to actually do this.
Go for it.
So apparently a bunch of millennials have been just sharing their retirement plans on social media, whatever the case may be. Like a lot of them have been just sharing their social media plans or their retirement plans on social media.
What do you mean by that? Like screenshots of like their 401k or the IRA?
No, like so some people will like post videos on TikTok and they're say like, well, here's what my retirement looks like, and it's not even a retirement anyways, like it's nothing. So it says right here, often millennials and even Gen Zers talk about the fact that older generations don't understand how hard it is for younger people to get ahead in today's society. One of the biggest things that is becoming seemingly more unattainable is retirement. Now, I'm at this point, like, and it was funny because one of the guys at our church today, he made this comment, and I consider honestly just refer to myself now as a serial entrepreneur, like real estate, podcast, laser, like woodwork, like whatever other endeavor like I'm seeking out to kind of go into to generate an income or supplemental income, whatever.
Mercenary for hire.
Yeah, essentially.
You said yeah.
Listen, hey, I've got the the equipment, so if anyone needs someone taken care of, I'm just saying. You didn't hear that here though. Daddy streaming, my retirement plan: never retire and apply to be a receipt checker / greeter at Walmart. I mean, there is actually a guy that's like in his 60s, is either in his 60s or early 70s, and he doesn't have a retirement. He literally is a part-time greeter at Walmart. That's what he does. He wakes up every morning at 4 a.m. and he goes to Walmart to work, and he does part-time.
But come on, Daddy streaming, you can do better than Walmart. You can at least be at the Home Depot.
And it says, so when Reddit user Alpha D Sony asked fellow millennials what their plans for retirement were, their responses were the perfect combination of reality and humor. Work till noon the day of my funeral. And then number 2, I've got a plan. I'm going to turn my on-off switch to off. And then he posted the picture of it. Find a nice commune and go die in the woods like a house cat. And then the cliff scene in Midsommar. I never actually watched this. I don't know.
Yeah, so you just go to the top of a cliff and you dive off head first and just let your brain splatter. Yeah, make sure you land on rocks though.
Cool. Yeah. And then we can't even buy a house, let alone retire. We'll all work until we're dead. Which, again, I say, like, if you put your mind towards anything, you can achieve anything. It just may take longer for you to get there.
Well, here's the problem I don't think a lot of people in our generation got taught is compound interest can do a lot. I'll just leave it at that. Compound interest and a 401k can do a lot.
Well, I don't have a 401k.
Well, an IRA, a Roth IRA, one of the two.
Well, you need money for both of those, and we're working on that too. So but I hear you though. Like we weren't taught a lot of that stuff growing up. Like I was just taught how to save money. And now, like, I'm at a point now where it's like, I've saved all I can save. Like, I can't save anymore right now because I'm not making anything. So, so that's kind of where that tough spot into play.
Yeah, it is tricky because the green paper that you save, if it's not growing through compound interest, then it's becoming less valuable over time. So if you put money in a box and you open that box 50 years later, that money is going to be worth less than it was when you first had it. Rather, you just put in a savings account at the minimum that returns. I mean, they have high interest savings accounts now that can, give you 4% in return, 3% easily.
But that 4%, I'll be honest with you, like looking at the numbers, it's not. It's something, but it's not what you would expect.
Well, yeah, but your savings account's not going to be a retirement account. You're going to put it in a pretty decent high growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But needless to say, again, in today's society, it's like, don't get me wrong, like some millennials have it worse than others, but it's like you can achieve anything if you just put your mind to it. You just have to be willing to work hard for it. So it's like, again, like, real estate's not the easiest job in the world. People say it is, but it's not. Like, you don't just sell things. Like it takes a lot to build that trust with people to get that transaction. And then, like I've got people who, again, are looking, but nobody's pulling the trigger on anything. And I have to have those hard conversations like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, are we doing something? Are we not doing something? Like, what's going on? Because I don't feel like going to look at 20 houses and then you just decide to renew your lease for another year. Only feet. Business idea.
Yeah, the chat right now is talking about selling feet pics for retirement money.
Hey, listen, or like, I mean, people, I think there's like one for cats. People do one for cats. We call it only paws or something like that. You know, so I'm just saying.
Well, there's another word you could use if it's cats, but I'm not going to say that out
loud. And then this guy said, I had to retire at 38 because of disability and now live with an amount of money that's about half the poverty line. I'm fairly certain that if my disabilities don't get me first, prolonged poverty will most certainly take care of my life expectancy. That's a real thing. People have to deal with it. Number 7, I figured there are at least 3 big economic busts between now and then, so I'm planning to die in a nude beach blowjob just shootout.
That's the American dream we keep talking about.
I guess. This guy said, honestly, high-key looking to move abroad. A good chunk of my country is hell-bent on messing stuff up, and we've been through so many downturns, only to be told to eat less avocado toast and buy a starter home, as if any of that is practical advice. I'll be honest, starter homes really don't exist anymore. Your starter homes now are new builds. That's a starter home, and even those sometimes can get pricier. Like, someone told me, I got a message from a new build person, and they're like, "Hey, like we have new builds that are about to go up that are starting in the low 300s, some even in the 200s." And I'm like, "You give me the numbers for those 200s, and we'll talk. You know, like we'll see what happens." This one said, I did some financial planning and determined I can retire by the time I am 97 and can live for 11 minutes on my face. So yeah, I mean, there's just like a bunch more of them. Some of it is funny, but it's, you know, people are actually, you know, this is real stuff that people are dealing with, you know, and again, college debt doesn't help anything either. You know, there's just so many factors that play into this, but a lot of it too is just a lot of people got comfortable during COVID. They got comfortable getting those stimulus checks and they didn't want to go back to work. And then it did mess up a little bit of the job market, but I don't know. People just have to be willing to, you know, they have to be willing to make that decision. You know, like you might not have that amazing job that you want, but unfortunately, it's just the world that we live in. You know, like I don't like living paycheck to paycheck, but hey, that's just the world we live in right now. So
sometimes you just have to make tough decisions. Like, are you going to sell feet pics online? You know, who knows?
I wouldn't.
The pedicure industry is going to start booming because, you know, got to take care of the merchandise.
Yeah, you got to.
Cool. Okay. I'm curious on your side, would you rather hit on these pyramid structures that we found first, or are you more interested in the JFK files?
We can hit either one, man. Because, I mean, honestly, the pyramid one, I have something I could follow up with that, and then we can go to the J files.
That sounds good. All right. So the internet went abuzz this past week. There was some research that came to light, and I found probably the best quick summation of it. It's about 3 minutes. Someone click play on it. Riley, you let me know if the volume's a little off or not, but this is from a much longer video, which you can actually find here. Greg Reese at Greg Reese on X posted it. This is actually from, I believe, his Substack, and he also posted on X as well. But let me play this real quick to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here.
Briefly summarized, these findings allowed us to construct a 3D model of the entire complex. The examination of dozens of tomographical images obtained from different angles using Capella space and Envelope radars enabled a 3D reconstruction of most of the objects inside the Pyramid of Khafre. Below, we present some images from our 3D analysis.
So we can see the pyramid on top.
Of the structures above Belzoni's chamber are intensely colored spots which can be observed appearing in all tomographic images taken from different angles corresponding to the internal artificial structures. On the next page, it says that improvements of the signal-to-noise ratio, revealing the internal structure of the 5 Zs, consisting of 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof. So this is the raw pictures of the data that they used to create their model. And this is the model. So it reads the tomography with another cross-sectional line showing the presence of vertical structures. And I think that was pretty mind-blowing. It then goes to say, as observed in the 3 model below the ground level, so ground zero of the main structure, vertically aligned cylindrical structures extend for hundreds of meters beneath the Giza Plateau. Notably, 8 of these structures, arranged in 2 parallel rows from north to south, descend to a depth of 648 meters, merging into 2
648 meters. That's deep.
large
deep.
cubic structures measuring approximately 80 meters per second. These features are illustrated in the topographical images and models presented. The paper then adds to that with some even more interesting detail, which is that the 8 cylindrical structures that have been identified in the tomographical image appear as vertical wells, which are hollow inside and surrounded by descending spiral pathways. It then goes on to describe the third step, which is a lot of the analysis they've done based on all this data that they've collected. So they say the next phase involved analysing the tomographic data to determine the full extent of the underground structures beneath the Giza Plateau. The tomographic images clearly reveal that the structures exist beneath the plateau, extending below the pyramids of Khafre, Khufu, and Menkaure, for approximately 2 kilometers below ground. So mind-blowing as it is, there's still more to come.
Don't ask me for any specific details on this. All I am aware of is this research that got released and looking at the images. Of course, if anyone's aware of who Billy Carson is, he is all over this. This is kind of like, obviously, this is like some ChatGPT like generated image, but kind of crazy that through these radar scans, we are finding even more structures, regardless of what the structures are or their purpose. Like, they could literally just be support beams. I don't care. Just the fact that there is something or that many pillars that we're finding through radar that go that deep into the ground, there's just so much more to the story that like we have no idea about.
Well, it's interesting though, because I mean, we've talked like back in like Egyptian times, Mayan times, Incas, Aztecs, all that, like a lot of their structures far exceed the time and date that they should have been able to build that stuff with the technology that they had. But there was indicators that they had the technology, but it's a question of how they had the technology. So
yeah, because there's debate that like right now, mainstream archaeologists they credit the creation of the pyramids to the old kingdom of Egypt. Problem is, most of the dating that we have goes way back before that. And I've thrown this fact out on the podcast before, but there's this fun little nugget just to give perspective. Cleopatra, if anyone's aware of who Cleopatra is, her death is closer in the timeline of history, is closer to the debut of the iPhone than it is to the building of the pyramids. Just to show how old these things really are. And I know we've talked about this on the podcast before too, but it really makes you wonder if the pyramids predate the old kingdom in Egypt. First of all, who built them? But then also, I know we've also kind of toyed around with the whole narrative of if Atlantis were to have been at the Rishat structure, which is in like Western Sahara, Africa, and the people of there were to have migrated to what we now consider as Egypt, and they were the original founders of Egypt. Who built this thing? And what was the purpose of this thing? We have no idea. I don't think we'll ever know in our lifetime, to be quite honest. But maybe we'll have more information come out in the coming months or years, just as more research is done, more radar scans hopefully are done. I know Egypt and Egyptologists are very protective of this area, and there's a narrative that's been built around this. They don't want that narrative to crumble. But you can't help but wonder.
I just wonder if like if they're ever going to make an opportunity to try to go down.
Probably not. And the reason I think that or say that is
releasing evil upon the world.
No, it's actually much more just egotistical than that. Egyptologists, people who, on behalf of the Egyptian government, study and preserve ancient Egyptian artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a narrative to Egypt, right? Like we've been told our entire life, there's like a narrative, like what Egypt is, who built the pyramids, how the pyramids are built. Like when you ask the average person, like how are the pyramids built? The average person can tell you, oh yeah, they had a bunch of slaves and they pushed these rocks up and like they they took thousands of people to like move these objects over years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the timeline that's been proposed in mainstream archaeology of like how long it took these to be built, it took basically like one person's generation. That's what they say. It's like, yeah, this took one pharaoh's lifetime to build a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even able to build these things today with modern equipment. Like if you got the best contracting company on the planet with the best construction equipment we have today, money is no barrier. We literally can't build this thing today. That is what's crazy. And so it kind of just blows a giant hole in the water of, yeah, a bunch of slaves built this thing. Like it's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense. Maybe you could stretch it and say, okay, a bunch of slaves built these things over 1,500 years. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, but it doesn't, I don't remember if it says it actually in scripture, but like towards the back end of Genesis going into Exodus, I mean, Moses freed the slaves from Egypt because the Jews
Correct.
were slaves to the Pharaoh or to the rulers of Egypt. And so what were they time?
I think there's been some really well-made Hollywood movies that give us a depiction of those slaves building the pyramids, when in fact, we don't have any actual documentation saying.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be proven wrong on that, but out of everything I've read, out of everything I've heard, like we don't know. Everything is just an assumption and a best guess. But we factually don't know who built the pyramids and how they built the pyramids. Because also just architecturally, these things were a huge feat. Some of these blocks, like tons, hundreds of tons. Like you can't just move this thing. We don't have cranes today that can move this thing. I remember they had this experiment, I think it was in Los Angeles. It was in California, I'm pretty sure, where they tried to move like the largest singular stone that we have. They were moving it to like an art exhibit, and they had to make special roads for it. They had to use special vehicles for it. The vehicles broke down. They had to rebuild the vehicles. The roads broke down. They had to rebuild the roads. And that block of rock that they moved wasn't even as big as the largest like stone in the pyramid. And what people also don't realize is like in the Giza Plateau, definitely Google and fact check everything I'm saying here. Don't just say like, don't just take me at my word here. There's giant stones that are the foundational level of the pyramid as well, that are like astronomically larger than the actual stones that make up the pyramid itself.
So I'm actually trying to find like a good accurate size, because some of these just don't it's a crappy quality.
What you got?
Let's see here. You can see the tiny little people right there.
Yeah.
That stone right there. Because like some of them, like the people don't, like when you look at the people versus the stone, like it's not really like super, super, mind blowing in a sense. Okay, the original picture and then the edited picture. So, and then, but also too, it's like when you think about it too, it's like when you think about like who helped like who helped them build the pyramids, and like talking about like the additional technology and stuff like that. The pyramids of Giza actually mirrored like Orion's belt in the star system. I don't know
it's also like situated, it's the Sphinx that's like positioned true north. And
yeah,
for anyone's listening, like go look up Graham Hancock. He's a fun listen. It's a fun read. He's all over this.
So let's see. Yeah, the Egyptian pyramids were built using the power of water, but I don't know. See, what does that say? Oh, yes, like the canals and stuff like that.
It's a theory, though.
It's a theory.
Theory.
And so that's the kicker, though. It's like, but here's also too what blows my mind. So let's just say like the pyramids were built out of each of the stones. If each of these are like individual little stones, how is it so smooth then?
So that's the whole thing is this isn't even as smooth as it was at one point. Most of the outer like shell, I know there's like a technical like term for it, has been looted over time. The original actual like casing of the pyramid, that's been looted, scraped away, stolen over time. This is like a very rough version of what it used to be. And it's like still like, I mean, if you get a close up on it, you can see like these are all individual stones that have been like stacked up over time.
Right. Dude, that's let's see here. I'm just curious. If I can actually. Yeah, that's just going to show that same one. Okay, well, here's another one.
Yeah. Look how large that is. How do you move that?
Hopes and dreams.
Maybe. But there's also a fun theory, do giants move it? Maybe. Who knows?
Well, there were those giants that we talked about. That like
look at okay. So look on the left hand side where it says no. Scroll back down to where you were. You see the two people. The image to the image just to the right of that. Look at how they used to cut these giant singular stones.
First of all, how did that even exist?
I mean, we got rocks. So, like, you can get big enough rocks. Like, if you go to a quarry today, I see them a lot in Central Texas because we have a lot of limestone quarries. You basically take, like, big rocks and you cut a section out of the rock. Very carefully.
That is just... Apparently, you could take tours and you can go inside like during the tour times.
Yeah, you can.
They don't take you like all the way, though. They just take
you can... There's ways you can get tours to go deeper in there at certain times of the year, but yeah, the very generic tour doesn't show you the full. Like you don't go into all the chambers.
This is like a theory, but it's like even then though, it's like how much strength actually possess to.
Like there's no way.
Yeah, there's actually too. Yeah, definitely very interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess to kind of like on the conspiracy aspect, unless you have anything to tack on to that.
No, go for it.
The next thing that I have. So apparently, this happened back in. So one of the articles said January. This article was published a couple days ago. Hidden ocean world revealed after Chicago-sized iceberg in Antarctica.
Oh, fun.
So another Antarctica theory for all you people out there who are interested in that. But it says a Chicago, and I'll play the video here in a second, but a Chicago-sized iceberg recently broke away from Antarctica, giving scientists the chance to explore a portion of the seafloor that may have been hidden for centuries. When an iceberg named A84 broke off from the George 4 ice shelf, I think that's 4. No, that's 6. On January 13th, the crew of RV Falcor of the Schmidt Ocean Institute was already nearby and traveled to investigate the footprint of the iceberg left behind. So these are just a couple of images. Obviously, just your generic aspects, but they broke off from here. So I think that was like the south side of Antarctica, I think. So like the southwestern side of it. So it just broke off. And it broke off actually on January 19th. So this article was written a couple months later, but over 200 square miles of seafloor were revealed, giving researchers a treasure trove of opportunities to learn about the geology, physical, oceanography, and biology to an area never before seen by humans. And it says, the team may have also discovered several new species of organisms. I mean, obviously, we kind of talked about that under Antarctica, it has like its whole ecosystem under there that we probably never even heard of or seen or thought of. And it obviously talks about that. Discovery offers new insights. They noticed that the expedition was the first detailed, comprehensive, and interdisciplinary study of such a large area that had been hidden beneath a floating shelf. So let me see if the video up here at top.
Yeah, because for people who aren't aware, you do know there are lakes in Antarctica. The ice.
Yeah.
Sadly, windshield chips.
This episode has been brought to you by SafeLight.
Crack.
SafeLight.
But at least you can go to safelight.com and fix in minutes.
Sweet.
SafeLight can come to you for free. And our highly trained techs can replace your windshield.
It won't let me
right
skip
at your
it.
home.
Looks like we're going to watch Safe Light, y'all.
Safe Light.
Don't
They
wait.
confirm they do
Go
it.
to SafeLight.com and schedule now.
Never had to use
Safe
it.
Light repair. Safe Light replay.
All right.
Van Dyke, radio check.
That is just freshly uncovered. We're incredibly lucky that this just happened right now, because there's nothing like
That
that
iceberg
has been
traveled
done
a
ever
ways.
in history. La exploración siempre implica estar todo desconocido. Y eso al mismo tiempo implica que vas a encontrarte con cosas que no te esperabas y vas a tener que adaptarte a eso nuevo que has encontrado. Cuando eres la primera persona o el primer grupo de personas que se acercan a algo donde nadie había estado antes, implica una gran responsabilidad. Una responsabilidad de hacerlo bien, una responsabilidad de sacar el mayor provecho de esa oportunidad que se abre delante de ti. Entonces decidimos que era una oportunidad fantástica y maravillosa de estudiar los ecosistemas, cómo se encuentran tal cual debajo de esas plataformas de hielo. Entonces esta es la primera vez que conseguimos estudiar los ecosistemas debajo de las plataformas de hielo en el momento y hacer un estudio multidisciplinar completo y tomar un ecosistema.
That's an alien.
Entonces es la primera vez que conseguimos realmente saber cómo son los ecosistemas debajo de una plataforma de hielo en su conjunto.
Daddy Streamy says he can't
Lo que hemos
read the captions from the bottom.
Existe
I just
un
say,
ecosistema
you don't know
completo,
Portuguese,
bien
my dude?
estructurado, muy rico, incluso más rico del que existe.
Essentially, they're just
fuera
talking
de la
about
plataforma de hielo.
that this is the first time
Hay muchos mensajes, muchas cosas
I
que
think in
podemos
our
aprender de esta expedición
lifetimes
a muchos niveles.
that we've
Una muy
experienced
clara
an event
que
like
debería
this. Because, like, I mean, Antarctica's, you
explorar
know,
y enfrentarse
here
y
and there has
arriesgarse sin
periodically like broken off and, you know, different pieces, but a piece this large that this is the first time in our lifetimes that we've had an instance like this where they've been able to actually go and study the amount of stuff they've been able to study over this course of time. So they've been studying, like, this happened in January. They've been studying all this stuff for the past 2 months, trying to figure out, you know, if any, like, because you made a comment, you're like, that's an alien. To us, it may very well be because we have no idea what that's called, but they're going to find a way to track it to some kind of other organism that we know.
Have they found the Leviathan yet?
No, not yet.
Oh.
That's probably inside of Antarctica. They're going to have to actually, you know, dig a cave, which I get ice like that is very dense, but what's stopping them from just, you know, taking a drill and just
Money.
we've had this discussion. It's the government. The government can apparently have as much money as they want, but nobody else can.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but money.
Well, Dana said apparently there was a pyramid or multiple that were topped with gold, but it somehow kept stolen, so it was replaced with stone.
Yeah, there's a theory about that it was actually topped with gold. There's also an interesting story about, I forget his name. I believe he was the first British explorer to climb on top of, I think it's the Pyramid of Giza. I might be misremembering some of this, but basically the rumor is once he got to the top, he actually got shocked, like an electric shock, because there's a theory that the pyramids may have been used as a power generator, a generator of energy. And that was just like one of the last little sparks that was left over. I don't know how much, you know, truth there is to that, but that has been part of the lore for a long time.
Well, that's, I mean, because I was just looking it up while you were sorry, and I had actually talked about that. The pyramids of Giza, including those at Khafre and Khufu, were originally topped with capstones or pyramidions that were covered in electrum, a mix of gold and silver, not solid gold. And let's see here. Yeah, let's see. These pyramids were covered in electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver rather than pure gold, believed to serve a symbolic and possibly practical purpose, providing stability and resisting the elements. Let's see here. Built a Black Pyramid did utilize dark granite pyramidions. Some even bore inscriptions and traces of gilding. Those are no longer visible in the Great Pyramids, but remnants of the pyramidions, like the one from the satellite pyramid at Giza, show that they were made of the same white limestone as the pyramid itself.
Now, if you want to go down a real slippery rabbit hole, I believe it's the Zulu in Africa that have part of their creation story. If you go far enough back in their ancient texts, was that there was a race of higher beings, gods, basically, a sense that came down and enslaved their early ancestors to farm gold for them. And so the question is like, well, what was that gold used for? Who knows?
What was that gold used for? And then Daddy Streamy said, imagine showing up at the pawn shop and explaining to them how you got the gold. That would definitely be, you'd have to first make it out of Egypt, because if you get that gold, because they watch those pyramids, man. Like, aside from like doing like your scheduled tours, like if you happen to just climb the pyramid, like they are watching you. And like if they even see, like there was a video that I saw of a guy, he climbed the pyramid to jump off of it, to parachute off the top of the pyramid, and you could just see the law enforcement just coming, like from a distance. You could just see them coming down the road and like coming to get him, because they reported him as being in an unauthorized area. So yeah, they take their pyramids very seriously.
That they do. Makes you wonder why.
Because it's all connected. Antarctica, the pyramids.
Could be.
What is it? I'm now blanking on it. Atlantis. It's all connected. It's all connected. But yeah. So yeah, Antarctica had that. The pyramids have that. I don't know. I think we're eventually going to get to a point though with Antarctica, aside from like when we're about to get into the JFK files, but I think we're going to get into eventually stuff with Antarctica that it's going to be similar to this. They're not going to be able to cover anything up anymore. That we're going to start learning more as time progresses. So
I hope so, but I have a weird feeling that's not going to be the case. People love to control narratives, and I worry that they'll keep a tight control on some of that.
Well, we got far with the JFK files.
Yep. Yep. Which is interesting. So one of the things to think about with the JFK files is actually, I think I have it right here. Boom. From Roger Stone himself, for those of you who know who Roger Stone is. For 30 years, this is what he posted, for 30 years, President George H.W. Bush insisted that he could not remember where he was on the day JFK was shot and killed. Well, fun fact, through the JFK files, we do know that Bush was in Dallas, Texas in the morning, and Tyler, Texas at lunchtime, returning to Dallas in the evening. Bush called the FBI office in Houston minutes after JFK's murder to establish an alibi. For those who also don't know, Herbert Walker Bush does have a deep history and administrative time with the CIA. So can't help but wonder, I don't know if you've seen any of the news clippings from this, but Trump in his first administration said publicly that he wanted to release the JFK files during his first administration. And he didn't get too much pushback for it, I guess, publicly, but going into his second administration, he was asked a couple of times, like, hey, you said you were going to do this the first time, and you didn't. You're saying this the second time. Like, is this going to happen? Yes or no? And he did mention that during his first administration, he attempted to, but he received advice, counsel from multiple members of the intelligence agencies saying that it wouldn't be wise to do that because it would impact certain individuals in negative ways. And this is just my own opinion, my own take on this. I can't help but make the correlation that George Herbert Walker Bush was alive during Trump's first presidency. He has since passed and he's no longer with us. So I can't help but think there's...
So do you think, because Trump was obviously alive during that time too, like when JFK, wasn't he? He was alive.
When was... I think mathematically, yeah.
But
he would have been young.
Yeah, like he's like teenage years probably, if not even younger than that.
Actually, born 1946.
Wait, oh, so Trump was in his 20s?
Yeah, so he would have been, what do you say? Yeah, something like that, basically, because Kennedy was assassinated in 63. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, young adult.
Okay. So do you think that he did that intentionally so that he would, cause I mean, realistically, it's like, even if he, because I know where they're going with this. They're saying that he had something to do with the JFK assassinations. Like he had a hand in lining all of that up. And that's all well and good, but it's like, even if they found out that he had a hand in it, what were they realistically going to do? All right, we're going to lock you up for the last 2 years of your life.
It's a great question.
Like, what would they could have really done to, you know?
One interesting document that people found that came out of the JFK files was actually JFK Jr. warning that Joe Biden was a traitor to the United States of America and was writing a letter with this information. However, JFK Jr. Happened to have died shortly thereafter. So, makes you wonder about that one. That was an interesting thing that came up as well. There's been a lot of interesting one-off documents that obviously we can't talk about in like 15 minutes worth of time. So for those of you that are even remotely curious, there's a lot of interesting documents that involve a certain country that's also very prevalent in today's news cycle that I don't want to dive too deep into because it's extremely controversial. But
I mean, why not?
I still value certain aspects of my life, and I just don't want to go too deep down rabbit holes that I believe to be true.
Are you afraid they're going to show up at your door?
Not afraid of that. So there's an interesting narrative that has started to come to light through the release of these JFK files, where a certain country, I'll let you infer which country this is.
It's one of two, but I'm pretty sure I know which one.
There's a country that we love to fund that is currently in a war that wanted to have nuclear weapons at this point in history. And the Kennedy administration, or Kennedy himself, was not the biggest fan of that, to my understanding. And so how do you ensure that you get your way as a country if there's a president of another country that's getting in your way? And also we know Kennedy beefed with the CIA and the intelligence agencies as well at the time. The CIA wanted to go into Cuba, have a war with Cuba. They had, for those of you curious, go look up Operation Northwoods. They were willing to basically, our own government was willing to basically take down a civilian plane or commercial flight and then say, oh, hey, it was like the Cuban military. And so that gets us to go into war with Cuba. Kennedy didn't want to do that. So Kennedy had a lot of beef with the CIA at the time. And so if you remove him from the picture, a lot of other things in the world can go on a certain way. Where was I going with this? The CIA also has very close ties with another very prominent intelligence agency from another prominent country. So outside of the CIA, there's probably only one other country that has an intelligence agency that is on par, if not questionably better, depending. Probably better at cybersecurity than we are, potentially. Have you put together what this I'm referencing?
Yes.
Okay, that country basically did not want Kennedy around anymore. And did I save it as one of the things on here?
Well,
there are documents that straight up say they funded this effort. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm gonna find this here.
Well,
say what you're gonna say.
We talked about this I think it was no more than 10 episodes ago, I want to say, and we both kind of agreed that Kennedy was kind of that last legitimate stand-up guy, president. Every other president that came after him was in bed with another country, doing things to fund other countries. And I know people say this is when the downfall of our, realistically, the downfall of our country was after Kennedy died. When Kennedy died and he got shot and killed, that was it. That was the end of it. And so there's even talks too that Kennedy didn't even die. So this was maybe a stretch with this video, because I was watching this video when someone was trying to put out conspiracy theory about this, but the shooter that shot him actually didn't kill him. It was actually his wife that when she turned to face him,
I know exactly what you're talking about. She
had a gun in her hand, and she actually shot him in the head, but made it seem like she didn't. She had a hand in it. So someone offered her some money. Maybe it was the vice president or the Clintons or someone at that time offered her money, because you have to think about the big name players that were around at that time, which the Clintons were. They were one of them.
Nah, that's way too early. They weren't prominent. Nah, dude, we're in the early 60s.
Yeah, they weren't to go into the next steps of where they were going to go. Because they were. I mean, let me look up the dates. Let me see. Anyways, go ahead and show.
Yeah, I know the video you're talking about. I'm trying to find it real quick, and I know it would instantly probably get us off YouTube. I thought I liked it. I did find real quick the phone call between LBJ and Jackie Kennedy shortly after the assassination, which is very interesting. I think it might have gotten removed. I think they might have deleted the video, so I couldn't find it. I did save. He was a very interesting phone call that came out.
So Bill Clinton, yeah, he was still very young at that time, but his family though was still up there. Okay.
Yeah, he was a phone call between LBJ and Jackie Kennedy.
Hello?
Hello?
Jackie?
Mr. President?
I love you.
Aren't you sweet? Where are you?
You just skipped away from this town. I had you arrested.
But I was so mad at myself.
Yeah, well, you ought to be mad. You almost made me mad at you leaving without coming by and hugging me and telling me goodbye.
Yeah, but did you get my note?
Yes, I did.
I talked to ladies, but I thought so stupid.
Well, I miss you, and I'm thinking of you, and I know your Christmas won't be what it ought to be, but I wish that I could make it happier. When I got ready to go to home for my Christmas, the Congress just said they'd spank me and hit me right in the face and wouldn't let me go, and that's the way I want to do you next time. Don't tell me goodbye.
Oh, listen, as soon as you get back, I'll come and get a vitamin B shot from Dr. Travell.
Won't you do that? Won't you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
Bye.
Don't ask me any context on that phone call. It's just a very interesting phone call.
But I'm trying to think of what big name, because aside from the vice president at that time, because he immediately got sworn in as the next president.
LBJ is, I think, fully aware of what was going to go down that day. He's very interesting. If you look at his election history in the state of Texas, there's been some instances where I think there was legitimate ballot harvesting.
Yeah,
that happened to get him. I can't remember. I think it was his. I was just run for state senate. I forget which campaign it was, where he had thousands of votes come in super last minute overnight, and this is
it's like a certain other president.
But 75 years before that, so it's kind of wild. Yeah. So, yeah, for those of you listening, just go look at the JFK files. They're kind of spiced in certain ways.
Let's see here.
There was one, I had it on my screen share a second ago. Did I get rid of it? I think I did. Oh yeah, it's the story. The Gary Underhill story. Not a lot of context to run with here, but let me read it off. So this is like a direct quote saying, the day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided. And he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment. The coroner ruled it a suicide.
Of course they did. Let's just say that has been a trend since then, probably even before then, that anytime whenever something comes out like this, the people that get named in it that might still be alive, you watch. Like, that's what kind of worries me about like some of these people that have recently just been like, and when I say blowing the whistle, I mean that like straight up going in saying, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is what they don't want you to know. This is what I can't tell you. And we're all pawns in this game. Yeah. And I fear that a lot of these people that are doing this, that even though that they're big names, like they're not any different than any of these other people that just killed themselves. And dude, it's just, I don't know, man. It's like there's so many more cameras nowadays, but it's like if the CIA or the FBI wanted to off somebody and rule it as a suicide, they could do it.
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure. Remember, Epstein killed himself.
Yeah, sure, dude. Literally, and I mean, kind of like when I asked you that question a second ago, I was like, well, why don't you want to open that can of worms? Like, this is the reason why, because it's like I'm not saying we're like FBI, like.
Have you seen all the swattings that have been going down? Yeah, that's a concern.
That it is, and it's like
very real. And then they have the pizza orders.
Yeah,
only pizza orders that show up to your door from names. Like, I know the InfoWars people have been getting hit pretty hard with the swattings and all that, but there's been some like legitimately honest to like legitimate people who are not controversial recently that are very public on X and other social media things, that like they've been in situations with swattings recently where like, thank God it didn't end bloody. It could have though.
Yeah, and that's like I'm not saying that worries me, because it's like at the end of the day, I don't really think like when you look at just us two, it's like we're not really picking, like we're not talking about it in a controversial way, but we're actually talking about news that has been breaking. And so it's like, I mean, if it happens, I'm like, cool. Like if a SWAT happens here, I'm like, really? Like, you know what, like you can come in here and check everything out that you want to check. Like, I mean, you'll see everything that I've got here. But it was funny though, because like I was looking at like prominent figures around the time that JFK was assassinated, and obviously, JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, Jack Ruby, which was the nightclub owner who shot and killed Oswald while he was being transferred to the county jail. So he got killed afterwards, and then Lyndon B. Johnson. It says then other prominent figures: Texas Governor John Connally, wounded in the same attack as Kennedy and riding in the same vehicle. Here's what also too kind of throws me off. Hold on, let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find like images on this.
There's also a document. There's a couple documents that reference this, but one, it's an affidavit from who is this? This is to the Russian ambassador, part of the JFK files. It says, I said Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald will be killed after Kennedy. I said I will take the truth drug to tell the truth. Director, tell us who else got killed in this country. I said, as I heard, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be killed. Who will kill Dr. King Jr.? N-word leader. I said a man who was in prison at the time. So it's like there's documents referencing that MLK was going to be killed at some point. But this is in the timeline where like he is serving time in prison. Very odd.
Yeah. First of all, the fact that they have like a truth serum, why don't they just still give that to people now? Like,
well, do you know what I believe they're referring to as the truth serum is LSD. This is during the time when MK Ultra was like in an uproar where they were dosing Johns heroic doses of LSD. And this was also the point in time when the CIA was the largest holder and distributor of LSD in the entire world.
I think now that's why they made it illegal, like whether or not it was illegal at that point in time or not, was because like it got you to see things for what they really are in a sense. Now it's just, it is what it is.
Well, it also got them to kill and criminalize the hippie movement, the anti-war movement during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
That was not kosher for what the government wanted to do over in Vietnam. And so how do you crush the anti-establishment uprising? You criminalize the things they're wanting to use.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so kind of going back to what I was talking about, like the other figures that were here. So it said the governor was wounded in the same attack as Kennedy and riding in the same vehicle. So I'm going to pull a picture so that we can kind of like see. I wanted to pull up this picture here that would kind of showcase. Let me see if it'll actually pull up a bigger photo. Okay. So obviously the man himself right there, that's supposedly his wife. That I'm pretty sure is Governor Connolly, and that's his wife as well. I want to see if I can find that video.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I had found it like originally when I saw it. I thought I saved it.
Yeah. I want to say maybe I saved it. Let me see. Did I save that video? No, we're just gonna skip all that. Let me see if I saved it. I'm still learning the art of TikTok. I haven't figured it out yet. Let's see here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I found it.
Well,
yeah. I mean, I can show it if you want. It's literally the video of his head getting blown off.
Yeah.
Right? So this is right before. I'll click play. Jackie Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. So it's zooming in on. The theory is that he got shot from the front by the Secret Service agent, but there's also the theory that we see
there is when she had the gun in her hand, and he was already sitting like that because he was already shot.
Yeah,
like he got shot in the chest, and next thing you know, like he just got his brains blown. But it's like you don't see the projectile.
Yeah,
to confirm it.
I don't know what to think with it anymore. Honestly, there's just so many unknowns. But
yeah,
I feel pretty confident saying that CIA was involved with it. Israel's the wild card that I didn't really think about up until a lot of these files came out. It's just a narrative to entertain.
Yeah.
Nuclear weapons, man. People want them.
Yeah, and apparently they'll do whatever they have to do to get it. I'm going to pull this up just to kind of see. Let's see here. I'm trying to see because these are like prominent figures during that assassination. But yeah, dude, like I think, and here's the thing, like because they didn't release all the did they release all the files?
No, there's definitely still files out there.
Okay, so they're still looking for files then.
I don't know what's actually going on. I can just guarantee you these are not all the files. There I can promise you there have been files that have been burned, shredded, defecated on. I don't know. Things that get the files not released. But like this could have happened 40 years ago also.
It doesn't matter though, because I'm not saying there's enough here to incriminate someone, because let's be honest here, half the people that are probably within the files probably aren't even alive anymore.
I don't think anyone's ever going to get like indicted or anything for any of this ever. I think this thing is so buttoned up tight that we will never know the full story.
And at the end of the day, that's fine. But like, if anything at all, people should really start looking into this stuff. Like, do yourselves a favor, just read into it. Just do it, because if you just go about your life thinking like, oh, like this didn't happen, or this is exactly how it happened, like if you're so, I don't want to say naive because I don't want to call people naive that I don't know, but it's like if you're so naive to think that there's not going to be things that are going to happen that our government's going to do or not do that you're either going to know or not know about that's going to affect you in some way. You obviously didn't pay attention in history class with any kind of historical, prominent instance in our history that, where someone just like a government decided to want to, hide things or, see Daddy streaming. He was like,
see no evil, say no evil, hear no evil.
Yep. And so it's like, we could talk about it. We can poke fun at it in a sense, and just come up with our own theories. But at the end of the day, we know just as much as the next person, but we just tend to do our own due diligence, just look into it as much as we can. So,
yeah. Well, let me ask you this. That's all I basically got for today. Happy to, if you want to talk about anything else. Dude, I am tired, man. I didn't really say this at the front end. I've been doing nothing but painting an entire freaking house yesterday and today. Like top to bottom, I have purchased almost $1,000 worth of paint. Probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 11 or 12 gallons of paint. Man, painting a house is no joke. Every room, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, like if you want to talk about anything else, like happy to. But that's what I got for this week.
The only other things, and I just want to touch on these two things because I've been trying to touch on these two things for like the past 2 weeks. Actually, I don't know why. I don't know why that's actually the actual thing, but essentially the astronauts that were trapped in the space station for 9 months finally got brought back home.
Yes, the conclusion of the story, because we talked about this like way back.
Conclusion of the story, and apparently people were concerned because the female astronaut, she
looked pretty rough.
She looked pretty rough.
But I get it. Like a year in space will do that to you.
Yeah. I'm trying to find like a good photo.
I did see. I mean, I guess I saw this as a headline. I'll preface. I did not read into the news article, but apparently Trump was saying he was willing to pay out of pocket the back pay on these astronauts' pay because they really were not paid for their time up there.
No. And that's honestly this, like that's sad. Like that is truly, truly sad. I'm actually trying to find like a good, like some of these photos just don't do it justice.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of those before and after.
But it's like her hair was like at one point, like it was a decent brown. It's like I don't know exactly how much of these are actually like how far apart. So here's her hair, and it could have just been just
it's like white now, right?
This was her hair afterwards.
Yeah.
Like it grayed up so much, and like he looked fine. Like I'll be honest, like I mean, I could be wrong, but like he looked fine. At least he was the other astronaut. Correct?
I got the perfect photo for you right here, actually.
Yeah. So, dude, it literally like that's what space will do to you. That's what space will do to someone when you're stuck up there that long.
They're up there 286 days.
I honestly just don't like the fact that they were up there and then it's like they didn't really do anything to try to help them get back sooner. And they could
think they could because they had to wait on SpaceX, right? Because Boeing kind of screwed the pooch on this one because their vehicle was inoperable. And so NASA was like, we don't trust Boeing to actually go fix this. So they waited on the next SpaceX mission.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, there was it took a little bit of time. Boeing honestly should have had their stuff together.
Yeah, Dana in the chat says somebody said the way she moved in a video showed possible signs of muscular issues. Definitely, when you're in space, your muscles atrophy because you're just not using them. There's no gravity. So even the muscles that you just subconsciously use, just standing, there's no gravity. So you're not standing. Like obviously there are like workout regimens to like make sure you keep using certain muscles, but like your muscles do atrophy when you're up there.
Let me ask you a question. If you had the opportunity, not like going all the way into outer space, I think I might have asked you this before, but would you go like
nope
stratosphere
Nope.
Like just enough to where you can like float.
Nope.
Why not?
I would maybe entertain the idea of one of those planes that does the mock gravity, just because they're going straight down and you're kind of floating because, but no, I don't trust. I just don't trust. That's just what it is. I don't want to be a statistic in that. I still have the Discovery shuttle in my brain just blowing up.
Because one of the twins from Dude Perfect, they won like this like rocket build battle that they had or whatever. Like they made like giant rockets and shot them off, and the winner would actually get to go to space, but like not like space, but like you get shot up and then you come back down essentially or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're up there just long enough to kind of float around, move around for like 30 minutes to an hour, and then you could take photos and all that stuff, and then come back. And so I was like, that seems actually pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't mind doing it. Like,
yeah, I mean, definitely, I'm in favor of like that as an idea, but I'm good. I'm not going to do that.
That's fine.
I'll support you on your way up.
It's fine. If I don't come back, it's fine.
You can live stream it. It'll be fine.
It's fine. Yeah. Last thing I had, again, something from a couple weeks ago, but Texas Tech had an explosion. So
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man, they're coming out of that manhole.
Yeah, dude.
I never actually followed up on that to see. It had to have been some gas, flammable gas that was going off, because it was like a green flame, and if I remember correctly, that's gas related. They had to evacuate the whole campus though.
Yeah,
but thankfully, I think it was during spring break, so there wasn't too many students on campus. But
yeah, I think so. It was on a Wednesday. There was at least one underground explosion inside a manhole near Engineering Key, a central portion on the campus. So evacuation.
For those who aren't aware, Texas Tech has, I think the stat is still true. It was true when I was touring colleges, that they have the largest continuous campus in the entire country, meaning that the single landmass that their campus sits on is the largest campus in the country, land-wise. Now, there are larger campuses that are like split up across different, like the University of Texas at Austin. They call it the 40 acres because the main part of the campus is only 40 acres, but they have other segments of the campus all throughout town.
Yeah.
Oh, do you see Daddy streaming in the chat? He goes, change the name of the podcast to Unreturned Company in Riley's honor.
That's fine. That's okay. I can accept that. I can accept my fate.
Nice.
So officials at a second press conference Thursday said the discoloration was likely caused by copper and other electronic material underground. Texas Tech Fire Marshal Mike Kennan said the teams initially responded to 3 different fires on campus, but later determined that there were 5 fires in underground vaults. Officials said natural gas is being removed from underground but could not confirm whether it was what caused the fires. So again, some kind of gas, something. But considering it was near the engineering, like the center of campus and like the engineering buildings, it's not exactly, out of the ordinary per se. But from the looks, I mean, granted, this happened 2 weeks ago almost, so they should be back in.
They're back in the full swing of things, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I got. Again, there's not really, aside from the JFK files getting, finally released, there wasn't really a whole lot and then the pyramid aspect, there wasn't like a lot of big news that happened this week per se.
What? That's huge news. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying aside from those 2 things.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. That was that kind of overshadowed everything else that probably could have come out this week, because, I mean, Trump is still doing Trump things, the Ukraine stuff that's still happening, that hasn't been talked about. Although I think there was an agreement that they finally came to now or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of tuned out the last 3 days, so I'm not sure what's gone on since, but I know they were trying to get the mineral rights deal done, and then you had the whole snafu with Trump, J.D. Vance, and Zelensky in the Oval Office that kind of went viral, and we talked about that. And then I think Zelensky tucked tail and kowtowed and said, yeah, I'm ready to sign it. But I don't know if they actually signed it, but they might have. I kind of tuned out, to be honest with you. So it very well might have been a thing.
We will never know.
Yeah.
For the future, what happened to the big UFO disclosures we were supposed to get around the inauguration? Did we get that? We did. No, we didn't.
No, we had some people come out and say things, but there's nothing.
Solid. That's
Nothing from the government itself. But similar to the JFK files, like, they're not going to tell you the real truth. There's legitimate like confirmation that there are videos of a craft landing at an Army airbase and a creature, a thing, walking out of it. Multiple people that have seen it, fairly credible witnesses, say that that video exists, but they're not going to release a video like that to the public because organized religion would be turned upside down. Because how do you address that? How do you answer that? There's no, like, there's a reason the Vatican has other leaders of other religions come out to have powwow sessions to determine, hey guys, how do we address the elephant in the room if the elephant in the room gets released? Like, those conversations are had. There's like moments where the religious world leaders come together in secret. Not like we know they come together, but they behind closed doors, they have conversations about what does the world look like and how do we address the world if and when aliens make themselves known? Because currently, most religion doesn't have the answer for that officially.
Well, I mean, if you look at it in a faith-based sense, I mean, in Genesis, when it says God created the heavens and the earth, and it says He created the sun, the moon, and the stars can also too be referred to as other planets in our galaxy. So what? And they say, like, science tries to always disprove religion, but if you think about it, science actually does nothing but enhance what religion is actually talking about, because that was the original like scientific explanation for what happened. So like, what if, God being that big bang that actually happened, that He created everything, He just doesn't talk about everything else. But what if the Bible that we have is also a different version of what other beings in other galaxies or whatever have, that they read and that they worship what their God is, and our God is known as this, but theirs is similar to them. So I don't know. I could be way out, because we've been started from like all the way over from Genesis going all the way through Revelation. And so we're only on chapter 3. But that's just some of the stuff we've talked about. Like, did God actually create just us, or are there other beings out there, like other planets out there that actually can hold life? Like, we don't go too far into that discussion, but yeah.
Yeah. I would just like the answer to the question of, I get what you're saying, but then I wonder, so do the aliens have their own? Do you know what Council of Nicaea was?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I wonder if the aliens had that. I'll let you Google that one afterwards, but don't ask me the spelling on that. I haven't spelled that since college.
That's funny because Google did it for me.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. I'll have to look into that. Huh. I'll have to look into that.
Makes you wonder.
It does make you wonder. But yeah, that's all I got for this week.
Cool. Well, you want to leave us with some words of wisdom?
Don't believe everything that's released by whoever releases it, because chances are there's still more out there to the story than what meets the eye. The JFK files will tell us that, because there's definitely a lot more out there. Being honest, they probably just released what they released so people would just shut up about it, even though there's probably nothing else out there. So they're like, here, we'll just throw them a bone so they could talk about this and get their minds off other things. So don't be fooled by the sleight of hand because they give us one thing, but realistically they're doing something else over here as well. So keep your eyes on that. What does retirement look like for you? Because for me, I don't know what my retirement looks like yet. It's still too early to tell. So definitely love to hear about all that. And I know we didn't get to read any comments this week. It is live stream more so, but we've obviously had comments that we've been reading throughout this. So definitely touch base on some comments next week in the next video. And we'll just kind of go from there. So it's been a pleasure.